Hey friends. I never know what I'm doing with lives, so bear with me. I do have some things I want to talk about. Oh, I wanted to update you on our Western North Carolina donations to craft artists. We have made a donation to Arts Asheville so far of $40, but I want to let you know that we still have more North Carolina stitching kits, and thought you might like to see what is in one of our kits. So, like everything else we've done, we are laser cutting. So this is our North Carolina. That's actually the back, even though that looks right. So it's laser cut and etched, so there's no pattern to transfer, no fabric, no hoop. You stitch just directly on the disc. It comes with an adhesive backing so that you can cover up the butts when you're done. It's 2 pages of tutorial and a QR code that gives you directions for the stitches that are used. And then there's this little pack of premium floss and 2 needles. Sometimes people like to bend a needle when they are figuring out the differences in stitching on a hard surface. So that's why there's 2, because they'll both last you a long time. There's not the same issues. It's just as if you bend an eye can be a problem. But full floss skeins of the Cosmo. So if you buy one of our kits, it is a fantastic opportunity to give Cosmo a try if you've never tried it before. It's mercerized to a point where it's almost really silky. It has less knots than any of the other flosses that I am accustomed to using. And the colors are really saturated. So it's a fantastic floss and it's a great opportunity to try it. We have 2 wood kits remaining, and I've had a problem with my wood supply, which is a really nice pre-finished, has a beautiful sheen to it that you can see. So it's not a rough wood. But I had a whole bunch of sheets that didn't want to cut properly. So I'm waiting on new ones. So right now we only have 2 North Carolina kits remaining, but I also do the same ones in a white matte acrylic. And those, once stitched up, look a lot like fabric, even though they're not. They have the same pre-drilled holes, all the same components. It's just a different format. And I do have, I think there's 9 of those in the shop right now, and those would be much easier to turn out more. So it's not too late. We're still donating to Arts Asheville, and that's a huge part of the cost on those kits. So anyway, there's that. And I also wanted to let you guys know that I started a blog recently. Well, I started it back in January. It's on the site. And in January, I was talking about what a hot mess my stash is. But the blog post I just put up this week, I really want to turn into a series, because I had someone tell me they didn't know what a stash is. They weren't familiar with the word. And I guess if you're outside of the arts and crafts communities, if you don't work in the fiber arts, maybe stashes is a weird word. So I went and I looked it up, and that's really what the blog post is about. It's kind of just an intro to the topic. Stashes are often secretive, and it's not like I go around telling people that I have 6 Rubbermaid tubs under my bed that are filled with yarn, but I do. So so I want to talk about stashes because you know, if you're a knitter or a crocheter, you end up with a yarn stash. If you stitch or embroider, you probably have an embroidery floss stash. And many other artists end up with stashes as well, because the collection of the tools and the colors and the shades can become its own hobby. And so a stash is a thing. Which also brings me to one of the things that people think of when they think of a stash is a squirrel with their acorns. So segueing right off, while I was in Atlanta, I had the opportunity to go through a stitcher's stash that had been left to a local stitching society to disseminate to other stitchers after their death, which was kind of fantastic. But look at this squirrel. He's so cute. So anyway, this is Stash, my stash squirrel, and he even came with his own stash of threads to complete. So this is what I'm learning needlepoint with. But in the meantime, the whole thing that even got me to that point was I was asked about floss drops for needlepoint threads. And so those are officially released. They are on our website. They are in stores, at least one store. I've got to reach out to the other stores to let them know they exist. But I worked with a shop in Greenville, South Carolina, who just got all of their phone and internet back from Helene. Thankfully, they didn't have any other further damage, but I worked with her in order to create these that will work for the fibers that she carries. So they come in 13 mesh squares, so kind of small. So you can see I've got some different fibers stitched up here. Here's a beautiful silk. And they come in 18 mesh, so that's going to be, oh no, I have it backwards. 13 mesh is the big one, because it's squares per inch, and then 18 mesh is the small one. And that's a lot like if you are familiar with cross stitch, 14 count, 16 count, that sort of thing. But these have been a lot of fun to figure out how to stitch with. That looks terrible. Can you see that? It's terrible looking. But that's okay, because these can all rip right back out. And then for those of you who don't want to stitch anything, that's fine. We got plain fiber drops that will hold a much larger quantity of thread than what you would get with a tiny skein of floss, which is what all of the rest of our floss drops are geared towards. So, at any rate, I'm really excited. These are finally on the website, and I can actually talk about them now. But they've been in the works for almost a year, practically, well, no, not quite, over half a year. So I'm really excited to be at the finished product stage, where we've tested and back and forth and really figured out what we needed in order to make them really useful and effective and well done. Last is right now we're also clearancing out all of the sashiko supplies. I have a good bit of the sashiko thread remaining, and it is in a sale corner on the website, right up on top of the menu, and at this point in time it is all marked down 30% off. So if we can get it out of here, that'll make it a little easier for me to go ahead and add some new things. I just got some natural dyed silk threads in that I need to get photographed so that people can tell what the individual colors are. But they are so pretty. I am so excited to add these to my stash. So anyway, if you have a collection of something, do you call it a stash or do you call it something else? I want to know what you call your collections, especially if you stitch. in any capacity. So until next time, give me a week or so. I'll be back. Happy stitching. Bye, guys.